Cheers to dinner together and
cheers to
business owners and all the freaking awesome shit that we do.
Yeah.
If you had told me in 2018 that we would be sitting here at, first of all, in this.
So we started off in a social media engagement group, and I think all of us were trying to like get big on social media.
Which, by the way, that is the engagement killer. Like, the way to kill your engagement is to be in the, what was it called?
I can't remember. It was like we joined this like luxury real estate engagement group.
Oh my god.
And like we would just like comment on each other's posts
to help promote each other.
It is the dumbest thing that you can do for engagement. Like, that'll kill your engagement. Like, the social
But it was like, I mean, to me,
no idea what I was doing.
It was kind of awesome because
It was
we all
awesome.
met each
It was
other.
totally awesome.
I
I remember being like so in awe of how you were able to be so authentic and not alienate people. Like, you still had this like massive following and you were so authentic. What I've learned is like when you and I were talking about this a little bit, like knowing your audience. I can name 50 people probably off the top of my head that would think that my content is, you know, cringy or whatever. And those are not my people.
Yeah.
And putting them in a bucket and like releasing that, like some of my friends, like literally some of my friends who I love dearly are not the ideal client for me. I need to be able to coach you on how to present an offer. And if you're like, it just doesn't, the friction is there, right?
Right.
So
You
one
have to
thing,
let me lead you. Let me be your advisor.
and the thing that I talk about a lot that is lost on new agents is you have to be in real estate or your industry professionally for a hot second to know what your audience actually is. Because what you think it is when you first start, like I thought when I first started that like I grew up in Germany, right? I speak German. And I thought that this is so funny actually. I thought that my clients were going to be like either Europeans or Germans, because like a very niche thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, Germans are the most like organized people. They're so on time. They're so deliberate with how they speak, and I am not. I freestyle things. I'm late often, right? I'm walking in 90 seconds late, right?
With your shoes in your hand.
Yeah, exactly. Not wearing shoes. And for some people, and that doesn't happen a lot. I'm using this as an example
Right,
because
of course.
for some people they find that to be disrespectful. They like, and that doesn't work for me. Like if I feel like I'm gonna have like a panic attack because being late's a weird example because that's like a professionalism thing, but like being barefoot, right?
Right.
Like if you show up at the office and I come and greet you and I'm barefoot, like, and you have a problem with that, you're not my people. And it's okay because you're going to maybe be someone else's person. And so just releasing into the universe that like you don't have to be everyone's cup of fucking tea.
That's one of the things I always say is that you're not for everyone, and that's okay. You should attract the people that are right for you because it's going to make your life that much better to do business with people that actually are your people.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and I think that social media allows people to have that peek inside your life and who you really are.
Yeah.
But like, there's deeper levels to
If
go
you're
with that
authentic,
authenticity, right? Like, and where's our comfort level with sharing?
Yeah.
The thing I've realized is
That's
you can't be everything to everyone.
No, and you can't live like that either.
You know, and it's like I tried that and it wasn't me. You know, the minute where I was like, hey, like this is who I am. Like I am a little bit extra. Like I do like nice things. Like I am a little bit like. You know, flamboyant, right? But like it's like I attract those type of people, and that's you know, and I'm not gonna attract a certain type of person, and that's okay. Those aren't my people, right?
Yeah.
But I will say I attract enough of the people that I like to make a good living, and that's all.
Hell yeah.
That's all that matters, right? You know?
I love reflecting back on like the things that I thought would be like the thing that would make me money or be like really good for my business, and then accidentally doing something that ends up being the rocket ship, right? And like unpacking that and being like, oh, that was the reason it worked is because it was just authentic. The thing that the three of us have always had in common is just navigating things in a business savvy way and being strategic about what it is that we're putting out. Like you were talking about when you post something without makeup, it's like very strategic and intentional.
Oh yeah,
right?
And that's the thing is like I think, you know, especially when you do have a public platform, right? Like you have to try your best to be relatable, right? You know, and I'm like, okay, you know, that's one of the reasons why I post my kids, right? Because when I post my kids, honestly, that's where I get so much engagement.
So much.
And I get so many people responding to my stories when I post my kids because they're like, oh my God, you are a mom. Like you are struggling.
Yeah, we're all mothers. I mean, what's the comfort level with sharing our personal lives and our, you know, family life, which and I know of actual examples of other women that were pregnant, and a woman didn't hire my friend who was pregnant because she said, oh, you're pregnant, you know, you're probably gonna be doing your thing. And a woman was doing that to a friend of mine. So I didn't want to lose opportunity because listen, we make humans. We're pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So I could still handle my business and make my human.
Yeah.
But
it's hard because when they find out, it's like, why didn't you tell me?
I mean, me and you were pregnant around the same time.
Yeah.
So I hid my pregnancy for like 7 months. Like that's like the
We were both
longest I
hiding
could
our
hide it,
pregnancies,
you know?
right.
I mean, I literally hid it from my clients, and I was like wearing these like puffy dresses, like, and I was like, oh my god, they freaking know I'm pregnant. But it's like, it's kind of sad when you think about it that we actually, because I was like, I have to hide this because I won't get this listing. Right. Just showing that, you know, you at the end of the day, like we're all human. Like, you know, we have emotions. Like we're mothers. Like we're women. You know, and I think, you know, a lot of the times people don't. You know, especially, you know, with your agents and stuff, they may not think that, right? Because like you're just like on this other thing. And,
I mean, we're all active in our business as well, right?
I've removed myself from production so that I can build a better
and I think
if I'm in production,
Holly is like, I feel like 2 years ahead of me. So like I feel like she's been like the best mentor because she was where I was like 2 years, you know, like she was where I was 2 years ago, right? So now she's like, okay, like you need to do this and this, you know, and it's like I'm trying to get a point where I don't have to produce, because I would love for me to just, you know, really be there 100% for the brokerage. And the agents,
it's what people don't understand is like that you are subsidizing.
No, it is.
Like the reason you're in production is because you're subsidized for the most part. You can't afford, and when I say can't, I don't mean it like that, but also you can't afford to
I'm like,
not.
I have a lifestyle I need to obtain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like sister.
Absolutely.
And I come in so hot. Like when she has, this is so funny. Like when she has like when something's happening, I come in so freaking hot with the vengeance. Like this just happened where I was like, no, this is what you do, because I've been there, like getting fucked over, trying to build out like a training platform, or like just all of the things that happen when you're building a business. Most people, especially in real estate, you're freestyling at first, right? Like you don't know what you're doing. And like if you're people like us, like I'm like, you get a job, you get a job. Like t-shirts for everybody. What's our logo? What's our thing?
So when I'm interviewing agents, I tell them, I'm actually going to sit here and tell you like all the reasons why you may not want to be here, and if you still want to be here, then maybe you're the right person. I'm not here to sell you like most brokerages are going to go and like promise you the world, tell you all the things.
Like,
no, I want to tell you all the things that you may not like about me or my company, and if you still want to be here, then we'll talk.
That's the thing I always say is like, I never promise something that I can't keep. And like that's why I never promise agents leads, you know, like I never and I'm like at the end of the day, we're a capping brokerage, so like first of all, like we're capping, so that's very different, you know. And like if I want to work with certain agents on my deals, that's my choice, because these are my leads. These are not the company's leads, right? And I think that's kind of been very hard for me to
it's
like
removing the weapon too. Like if you disclose it up front, there's this part from, you know, the movie 8 Mile, right? There's this part
with
Eminem.
Yeah.
So there's this part, I think about this all
I love you that you even have that reference. You're such a gangster.
So there's this part that so I don't do any of our hiring at all anymore. I don't interview agents. Like I do not participate in the conversation. They meet me after they're hired for kind of this reason to begin with. So my chief of staff, she'll reveal all the like underbelly of what it is, what it's like to work here, right? And there's this part in 8 Mile where Eminem like talks about like, or he like says like, if I say it myself, then you can't use it against me. Like the weaponizing, if you take away the weapon from the beginning, this is something that new agents and new team leaders and new leaders all have to kind of learn the hard way, because you hear people like us say that and you just don't know what it's like until you've been fucked.
We use these tools in our listing presentations, right?
Oh, like totally,
you talk about the negative and what are all the reasons why they wouldn't hire you, so that there's no other reason
for them to not hire you. If I wasn't married, my dating profile would be like, all right, so these are the things you need to know. Like, don't click link, whatever the things are. Like, I would disclose, because this disclosure removes the weapon. Like, it's so important to do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think it's important that we all do that in our business to make sure you're attracting the right type of agents to your company. And I say, listen, from the beginning, loyalty and trust are number one for me. Okay, we each have such strong brands individually, right, that drive our businesses. So now, do you have certain agents that you will give leads that come into, or are you just working it yourself? And then you too, because you're not in production, so do you have specific people?
The second I started my team, which was like almost the day I got licensed as a real estate agent, I was obsessed with the model of like being a single point of failure as a solo agent. I wanted from the beginning to have 2 agents on every single transaction. So we had this like team model. Yeah. I leave tons of money on the table by doing it, which I'm okay with and at peace with, because it enables me to do what the highest and best use of my time is.
Let me ask you, who do you give those leads to?
So it depends on
yeah,
depends.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So this is the thing.
Like, if you have 30 agents, you can't give a lead to every single agent.
I cherry pick out the agent that's going to be the best fit for the client. Bottom line, because I think when you do a round robin thing, I'm pretty passionate about this.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's leads, right? And then I have my personal leads, right? These are like my former clients, right? Like my network, right? So it's like, company leads. Yeah, I do a round robin with my company leads, but when it's my personal leads, it's like you need to pick people that represent your brand, like represent who you are,
and who's going to mesh well with the client too.
Well, and then it's like how they work, right?
Yeah.
So like the people I have on my team, like we've done so many deals together where it's like we have that history, right? Like they know how I work, I know how they work, right? And it's like we just I don't have to sit there and like watch every single thing that they do because I trust them, right?
You have to take yourself away from that, right? In order to kind of be up here and oversee it on a bigger level. And I mean, ideally, I don't want to be in production every, all the time.
No broker wants to
buyers,
be in
sellers,
then
listen, I enjoy working.
People that do like it.
I enjoy working with certain clients, but what I've done is I brought in a buyer's agent that is, again, I don't have a team per se, right? Like I'm an independent agent, but I have one agent that is acting as my buyer's agent, and then I have my listing coordinator. And I had to get to a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna give him 100% of my buyers, not just the cherry pick. Like I can't cherry pick, and give him the lower price point, and I take the 5 million. Like I've given him everything, right? And it's freed up so much of my time. But I created processes. So I use Asana, and they have to follow my process. So there's a whole funnel where the buyer or the seller will go through, and then we'll set a Zoom call. I go on that first call to introduce myself and do the handoff, right? And then from there, there's literally like template emails and exactly the process and the experience that I want that client to have, that they have to follow that. So it's still my brand and the way that I would take care of a client. I've now trained that person to do that, right? On the buy side and on the sell side. So that's been helpful to me. It really has helped me so much to know that and I could track it through Follow Up Boss, and I can say, okay, did he send that new buyer the template email that I want, which has a link to my High Note that I use. I use this thing called High Note, which talks, about my company and your process. Like there is a certain way that I want them treated and, information sent to them and shared.
It's like the telltale of having like a sophomore or junior business, when you have a process in place that works. And it's like it's set up like when something's evergreen. If you
and that's the thing. It's like I'm not a process person. Like I'll be the first. Like I'm like very creative. Like I'm marketing, I'm branding, and I think that was like the hardest thing when starting Next Gen, because I literally thought it was just gonna be me and like literally like five girls, right? Like I thought we were
Meanwhile,
just like
180. How many agents later?
I literally thought it was just gonna be like, hey, we're just like having fun, like
and
can we talk about this for a second? And there were no processes.
Mind blowing.
There are no processes.
It is amazing.
And then I'm like, and then all of a sudden,
it's really impressive.
And I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Like I'm about to like derail this conversation, but I feel like you and I sitting here like pretending that we're like on her level is like a little bit asinine.
You have 100 and what?
I think now we're at like 180.
And you did that without any other resource. Like you've built it from the ground up.
I mean, it was social media, right? And I think that's what. And I get really upset when people underestimate the power of social media, because to me it's such a backward way of thinking, because I personally know
how powerful it is.
How powerful, like that was today.
Are you the broker of record at your company? So you're the broker of record. So all liabilities on you.
All the and that's the thing is like, I know the power of social, and when I first started social media, and like my husband always tells this story, right? Like he would always like roll his eyes, and he'd be like, I'd literally be talking on stories. Remember when stories first came out, and I'd be like talking, and he'd be like, you only have 1,000 followers. Like who are you talking to?
Some of you have been asking.
I know you guys are asking about my skincare. He's like, no one's asking about your skincare routine. But he's like, like I've always just like manifested, right? I'm like, one day I'm gonna have this following. And now my husband is like the biggest Instagram husband, because he sees that it actually translates into business and into money, and I get so many agents asking me, how can I get a following like you, right? Like how did you get to where you are today? And I tell them, and I tell every single agent.
So these are actual people asking.
Yeah.
Not so many of you.
And I was like, these like made up people that are all the time. But I'm like, post every single day for 30 days and come back to me.
Yeah.
How many people have actually come back to me? None.
No.
And that's why we don't get this information.
Stop, you guys.
Every single
No
day.
one actually does it. Like no one does it.
Since 2015, if you look at like the number of posts that I have, I posted every single day.
Yeah,
I have not missed a day.
Yeah.
Usually I post 2-3 times a day, you know, and it's like now come back to me and tell me that like it's all luck, right?
It's
And
really
tell me
crazy
that-
because you can give literally your full formula. Here's exactly what you need to do step by
I
step,
do it all the time.
and they won't do
No
it.
gatekeeping here.
Exactly what I
Because
do.
nobody, that's the thing that separates the good from the great. It's not the how to, it's not the idea. Everyone has an idea. Everyone can look up how to do it. It's actually fucking
Doing
it.
the work.
No, and
This is the thing with the coattails thing that we need to talk about this. Like I feel like this is a good piece of content.
Okay.
The coattails dynamic, when you're in a position like we are, where you have a platform, you're an influencer, whatever.
Right.
People that are associated with you. Like when an agent comes in, if you post one thing on your story tagging an agent, for example, the leg up that you're giving that person.
Huge.
Like I would have given my right arm to have you tag me in when I first started. Like
Right.
And it's like
have
free
that,
for you.
you know?
But totally. And I was fine to not have it either. You
Yeah.
know, like I'll hustle my face off, whatever. But I think the thing that's so lost on newer agents is when you have someone that's mentoring you and that's giving you a platform and that's exposing you. That shit cost us
Money
work
and time.
and time and by yourself too.
So much by myself, and it's
Yeah.
like I can't cry in front of people, right? Because like I can't. Who am I gonna cry in front of? Like I can't cry in front of my followers, right? But it's like, you know, and that's the thing is like it does come at a cost,
I
right?
think also people don't get it too. Like when you pour your heart and soul into helping someone, especially like agents that have made a career shift and they're taking a risk by leaving their corporate career and getting into real estate, and you're like, I can help you.
Well,
right?
and you want to prove
And
it
you
to
pour
them.
into
You're like,
them.
hey, like you have
I
potential,
have the tools to
like,
help you.
and I'm gonna do everything I can, and that's what I
This
love
is
about
why
you
I am
guys.
also a big believer in you got to pay to play, guys. Okay, I mean, it costs us a lot of time and money to get where we are today, to know what we know, to give them all the shortcuts that we can give them.
Yeah.
You know, so I have become more and more through the years, like just kind of firm on. No, it's going to cost you X if you want to be in my
I feel like
brokerage.
you're better
and you
at
wanna,
it than we are.
Yeah.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst at it.
Same.
I think the majority, and this is what I try to focus on, right? Because it's so easy to get jaded, you know?
Yeah.
And I know you guys know this, right? Like, there's so many times where I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, do I just throw in the towel, right? Because it's just, I'm like, I'm about to have a mental breakdown, you know? Like, it's really
I
hard,
have,
you know?
several times,
I mean,
like-
we've all had mental breakdowns,
it's the
you know?
worst.
And it's like, but I always focus on, like, for example, like there was, you know, one agent, she was literally the first agent on my team. You know, I saw her close her first lease. You know, I saw her close her first sale. I saw her sell her first $1 million listing, you know, and now she just made top producer, like at my brokerage, you know, and I'm like, and I've known her since 2017, and I'm like, you know, that, and I try to really focus on that, right? Like, yeah, there's gonna be like the people that whatever, but it's like, I try to be like, okay, like, you know, the majority people that we have actually, you know, I would like to think made an impact.
Totally.
We made an impact.
I did this mindset adjustment when
know?
I'm walking into my office. So I walk by the cars, so like my path into work. And when I see the lineup of cars, if I'm doing a training, for example, and everyone's there, there'll be a bunch of cars. And there's so many new ones that were on a vision board that are inside my office. And I do this mindset adjustment where it's like the people that have come and gone, that's real estate in general.
Yeah,
like,
it
that's
is,
not
it
us.
is,
And I
it
think
is.
also understanding as a leader and as a young female leader that is our industry. It's not you. You're like, there's this narrative, especially like on LinkedIn, there's this like narrative that like people don't leave bad companies.
They
and
do
leave
bad
leaders.
management.
Yeah. And it's the worst quote ever. Every time I see it, I'm like, so when I first started seeing that, and when I first started, it was like, oh my God, they're leaving. It's just for industry. But I think you just said it so beautifully, like really being appreciative for the people that have been loyal and that have seen like our heart and soul.
Yeah,
is, like,
and I mean, I've literally
that's
had
where it's,
an
like, gold.
agent that came to me. I mean, she literally had a Porsche on her vision board. She just got it, and she was like,
So
"Hey,
special.
you know, when I first got to Next Gen, that's when I first made 6 figures."
Yes.
You know, and it's like I love hearing that, and it's like that's why I built that, right?
Yeah.
Because I wanted people to get to that point and be successful and have, you know, like that's why I set up my model, because I was literally like working my ass off, getting every single lead myself, and I was still sometimes on a 65 split.
Yeah.
Like,
in the real
you
estate
know?
world, the brokerage and team model is very broken for this reason, because teams can't have the team members compete with the team leader. If you use the millionaire real estate agent model, right? Mm-hmm. So that model with the rainmaker, and I can't even say rainmaker without putting air quotes around it because it's so broken, and so many teams make this mistake where they don't empower the agents on their team to start teams, and it's impossible to do that if you're in a brokerage that doesn't allow, like, you have to have the infrastructure in place to acknowledge that that's going to happen. Like we were talking earlier about setting like expectations, right? Like, and like outlining exactly what's what. So if you want to start a team, this is what it, right at the beginning when you hire an agent, this is what it looks like if you want to start a team. This is what it looks like if you want to be a solo agent, if you want to add a team member, whatever. Because honestly, like, how much of that did you guys freestyle when you first started? Like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I'm trying to empower all of my good agents to start teams. Right? Because who wants to be an agent forever? I'm sorry, right? Like, no one wants to sit there putting up signs and lock boxes for like 20 plus years, right? So it's like, hey, I'm trying to give you guys a way to get passive income, right? Like, take your knowledge in real estate and start a team, right? Like, I want that for you guys. But it's actually been really interesting to see because some people are just so resistant, right? And I'm like, you know, I'm trying to help you. Like, I'm not trying to force you to do anything, right? Like, I wish I had that, right? Because I wanted someone to be like, hey, like, you know, and again, I would still, there would be no next gen if that was given to me, right? But like the reason why I started next gen was it got to a point where I was like, hey, now I've recruited 40 agents to your brokerage and I have nothing to show for it. People who, you know, understand the vision of Next Gen and who want to grow with Next Gen, you know, because again, when I first started Next Gen, I did not expect to be where it is, but now it's an actual business and I acknowledge that, right? So I'm like, okay, we have to have a mission statement, we have to have core values, and one of my core values that is non-negotiable is you have to have a growth mindset.
Right.
If you do not have a growth mindset, you do not belong at Next Gen, right? If you're not willing to improve as a person, you don't belong at Next Gen. And I have to actually implement that, right? Like, if you don't want to improve, you don't, you know.
That's the hardest thing to vet at the beginning of a relationship, though. Like, everyone says, that's to me, because that's one of ours too, it's you have to hustle,
and everyone says that in the beginning, right? And
have you gotten better, like, your spidey senses on, like, whether or not people are the real deal?
No, because
I'm so I think
I like to.
That's why I don't interview people.
I
always
see the best in people. Right?
I want to give them a chance.
Yeah, and I always give people a chance to prove themselves, right? And I'm like, hey, like, if you want to grow at Next Gen, I want to make it as profitable for you as possible, and that's really what. And I, you know, obviously the people that don't see it, they don't see it, and they'll never see it. But, you know, behind the scenes, I know you met our director of operations, Jamie,
such a cool conversation.
You know, and it's just like, that's what we're trying to set up, right? Like, we're trying to create leaders. I didn't start this brokerage to like sit back and just like collect fees from the agents. Like, that's not why I started it. That's not the reason why, right? Like, I just wanted a place where we can all just be ourselves, like, get as much money as possible.
You're so impressive to me, just the fact that you have 3 children, you know, you have to maintain your marriage as well and run this whole business, and you're an active agent. Like, how many support staff people do you have? Because you're the broker, so when people have questions for the broker, they have to call you, right, on their deals.
Yeah, and I mean, you try to be, you know, available, but I do have, you know, and again, that's why, you know, I want people to step up as leaders, right? You know, because it's like, you know,
and
kind of build
pressure on you.
3 and then me. That works for us so much.
Kind of like
yeah,
exactly, like having that kind of like, hey, this is your team under you, this is your team under you, this is, because it's like, man, if I had that, again, I would have.
Well, how many operations people do you have at your company?
I have 4.
Like
4.
Running that many agents, that's amazing.
Such a heavy background in, like, a formal background in marketing and entertainment.
Yes.
And when people offer you advice, which is what happened. Our industry is so weird, right? Like unsolicited advice. Like, you know what you should do?
Right.
You should get on TikTok and you should do, like, you should post these hashtags or whatever.
It's so
always
hard
like,
sometimes listening, even the speakers, right? I'm like, actually, no, you can't generalize. This is not for everybody. Everybody does things a little differently, you know, and it's hard because you're taking people and you're like trying to take them in so many like specific directions, but there's so many directions we can all go in. Everybody has their own path, right? So for me, yes, I have a background in sales and marketing. I built a company from the ground up, sold millions of dollars of merchandise. I was the designer. I was the factory manager. I was the sales girl and the marketer and all the things.
When someone's like, you should get some merch and some swag for your business.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to sit this out.
That. So for me, you know, I love,
Thank you.
I use that value today in my business from that business side of my background. And also I was in media. I was a cheerleader for Miami Dolphins. I was a dancer for the Orlando Magic. I would do hosting and I was on camera camera and I'm comfortable in film, you know, so I'm able to share that with people and teach from a point, you know, from my experience. Again, you kind of have to find your
and
you
that's
know,
the thing
channel.
is like I can't do YouTube, but I'm good on Instagram and TikTok,
See?
right? So it's like everyone kind of has their thing.
I think the smartest thing that you can do in 2023 is go to the platform that you know and can be nimble
Where your
with and
people are.
Get the other
Where
ones.
your people are,
Let the other
you know?
ones go.
Yeah.
You don't have to be on.
You don't have to
all the
be
things.
everywhere on all
Because you'll
of those
dilute
things.
yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they'll compensate for your weaknesses,
and
that is what is
and
going to
that's
create
the thing.
strength.
It's like I think that's what a good leader does, right? They analyze themselves and they're like, what am I weak at, right? And then they bring in people that they're weak at, right? And at the end of the day, you know, change is change. I understand, like, not everyone's going to be on board with it, but at the end of the day, like, you're doing this to help all the agents and make it better, right? Because when the brokerage is better and it has a better reputation, that's when you get more clients. That's when you get the higher end clients, you know, and like, and that's kind of what I'm going towards, you know, and I think, yeah, you're gonna have some resistance with a couple of people, but I think at the end of the day, if you're actually a producing serious agent, you can see like, okay, now, like, yeah, she's trying to take our business to the next level, right?
Yeah.
You see where it's coming from, like
Yeah.
your intention.
Untangling that mess is a freaking chore, though.
But it's
Transaction
crazy
coordinator.
that people are so hung up on that $200.
Dude, it's
and I'm
nothing.
like, that
Oh my
$200
God.
can make you $20,000.
You cannot be
Yeah.
cheap.
You know?
I don't like that cheap mindset.
Oh my
you know,
God, I
you
hate
cannot be
it.
cheap. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
when
you have
people
to
are cheap.
You have to.
Well, but you have to be scrappy.
spend money
So
to make money.
You have to
spend money
be
to make
scrappy.
money.
Yeah, you have to be okay. So you have to be scrappy in certain areas. I do think that like there are things that people spend money on that I myself will never be able to write that check. Like there's certain things
Like what?
that I'm just so I bought a commercial grade printer so I could print things in house.
Oh, I love that you did that.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah,
like,
I know you already
and
posted.
but the reason this is like I am pound wise penny foolish in this area, and I can't help it because printing a brochure for $10 a pop, and then a 14-day lead time, and then the design is wrong, and we have to redo it. I'm like, fuck that! I will spend the money that costs way more than my car to micromanage it myself because I can't fathom spending 10 grand a brochure. Like there's like certain things, and I think that like knowing what your like trigger points are, like I spend money on swag. Like I spend good money on swag.
Yeah, because our brand.
Yeah, that's our
we
brand.
all do
Yeah,
swag.
totally.
You
I'm
do
obsessed with it.
great swag.
Can't help
You do
it.
great swag. Yeah, you want agents out there wearing
Well,
it. You
to
want
me,
clients
it's like
out there
I will
wearing
always
it.
invest in good photos and videos.
Absolutely.
Because I don't care. Like,
Well, but videos though, do you? So this is actually where I'm cheap too.
Yeah.
So with videos, I don't love listing videos. Yes.
I don't
Videos
like.
for me.
I like using the up and coming talent.
Yes,
you know,
same.
because I never, I like using the ones where, and I've worked with tons of videographers throughout my career, but it's like the ones who are hungry, right?
Yeah.
Like to me, that's when you're most creative, because when you have way too much business, I feel like they just use like a certain formula and a template, and all the videos start looking the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I can. I know immediately as soon as they start doing that. I'm like, something has changed.
Yeah.
The videos aren't the
Same.
same.
The quickest way to lose me is, if you're a video person, is by interrupting like my creative flow. Like if I always say this like up front, like if you're gonna shoot a video for me, you have to let me produce it and direct it to some extent.
Yeah.
Which I've learned the hard way. Like I've done these videos where like I've done like a walk and talk, for example, and it's like the person just is not getting that they are not. Like if you're a creator, you're a creator, and like some people want that vision, right? I think the three of us are extremely similar, but you have a different like gear of like assertiveness and leadership.
Wild how we all have successful businesses, all run completely different in completely different markets, completely different personalities, and we watch each other grow over years now, but it works. And that's what I think the message has to be, is that there is no one way, at all, and you can follow.
But there are multiple right ways.
Yeah,
there are things can be the right answer at the same time. Like if you're with a brokerage, if you have a team, or whatever, like there can be
just
multiple right answers.
bouncing ideas off of each other. Like I learned so much just in 30 minutes, right? That I would have never learned in Houston. Right? Because I just don't have that relationship with the brokers, unfortunately, right? But it's like, hey, we're not in competing markets, right? So we can actually share and talk.
But even if we were, though, I think the three of our personality types, even if we were
collaboration,
I feel like it would be like,
because
yo, how do I handle this?
Because we've already said, my people may not be your people, and vice versa. There's enough business for all of us, right? So how about in this industry, we rise each other up instead? Because again, that's why I was discouraged to get into this industry in the beginning, because I was like, there's a bunch of jokers, you know, and like the you know, to enter into this industry, the bar is so low.
What is it, and is the thing that you, if you could do something over, genuinely do something over, what would it be?
What's yours?
In your business?
I have an answer to this actually.
Wait,
like,
in business
kind
or
of like,
life?
No, business, and nothing like made. But
okay, I'll tell you. And when I was starting in real estate, I've always been a very independent person, like go-getter, can do it myself type of girl, right? But I think there's so much value in attaching yourself to an experienced top agent that you can learn from. So if I was to start over, knowing what I know now in real estate. First of all, I'm from Miami, Florida. I would have started real estate when I freaking lived there, okay? Because price points are way better than Orlando, Florida. Okay, so I would have started real estate when I was a freaking Miami Dolphin cheerleader in Miami, so miss number one. And number two, if I were to start over, I would have probably seeked out the top agent in town, and I would have went and wanted to work on their team and learn from them, you know, because there's so much value in learning from the best. And I think that would have really helped me. Even today, like I'm still learning. I've achieved a lot, but I'm still learning every day. So those are the two things I think I would have done differently.
I have so the way that I handle conflict or like getting like angry about something, or how I used to handle it, I've gotten so much better at this with my evolution as a leader. But naturally, I don't love conflict and I don't love friction. I live in this world where I'm like, never mind, I'll just do it. Like if someone kind of like screws me over, I'll be like, okay, it'll be fine. Like never mind. Like if someone steals from me, I'll be like, I'll just pick up another shift.
That's exactly how I am. And then you'll still cover up for them.
Yes.
Right?
You'll still be like, why do you do that?
I would call them out.
It's fine.
Straight in their face.
Yeah, this is why like we were talking about like the difference. Anyway, so but when you do push me to my breaking point, I break the fuck all over the place. Like when I get to the point where I'm okay with diving full in, it's an angry explosion. And the first hire that, or the first fire that I had was, and it wasn't, I'm not talking like I don't like burn the place down, but I vocalize how pissed I am. And what I've learned is that the road to, we were talking about this earlier, like you do the same thing, it's so funny. The road to that point is like you can give the person feedback as you're going. Like you don't have to explode at the end. Anyway, I fired this girl in a way that was so unkind and so like, and the way I did it was I said, everyone is having issues with you. And as it came out of my mouth, I was like, I'm speaking on behalf of everybody else, which is the most cowardly thing that you can do. This was years ago. And I think about it all the time that like the position that we're in as leaders, you can hurt or harm someone with what comes out of your mouth. And being like, when we were talking about being a liability, I'm like, now this thing that I'm talking about right now is not jokingly, like not really thinking about what comes out of your mouth as a leader is and I think about it all the time. I can picture her face where she
so like that moment, you're like, I'm never gonna have that moment again. I learned from that moment.
Totally. And I wrote her a note where I was like, that was so not, first of all, it wasn't true. I was putting my frustrations on other people. Like there were a handful of agents that were having issues, but
we're still human. We have moments where we're just not our best self, and that's okay too. And people have to understand that to some extent too, right?
And I think like there's so much power in, like I think one of my superpowers is learning from my. I love a postmortem when I lose business or when I fuck up, like going like, all right, what did you do wrong?
Learn from this experience.
Let's unpack.
Oh yeah, and I always do that too. I would say my biggest mistake, it's probably the opposite, is I wish I broke away sooner. Because I feel like I was so kind of like brainwashed into like, hey, I wouldn't be successful without my broker, you know, because she was my mentor, you know, and she
wasn't there to empower you in that way.
It was in a very manipulative way where she would, you know, like where I thought I would be nothing without her.
Did you know it at the time?
No.
Like,
oh hell no, you know, and
because there's a difference there. Like there's knowing and being scared.
To leave. I didn't know that at the time, right? Like I genuinely, just you know, thought, you know, and it's like. And I think she's a true example of what I never want to be, and I'm so thankful.
And that's
for
why
that.
you give so much that you
know,
give
and
at
I'm
next
like,
gen.
and I'm like, I never want to be her, and that was the greatest lesson that I learned. You know, because it was like, now I know, and there are times, you know, where I'm like, okay, you know, I know how hard it is to run a business. I can see why she was the way that she is, right? And I'm I give her, you know, compassion, right? Because I'm like, it's not easy to be a business owner, but at the same time, it's like I would never do the things that you did, you know. And I think that's like the biggest thing, is just realizing, hey, like. Realizing your worth, right?
And I've seen both of you guys do this, and I think this is something we all have in common too, is that we're all really there to rise up our agents, empower our agents. Like, you know, even in our company social, like I'm highlighting them. We are there to give them the ability to shine and succeed. Yeah. And that's what I think is in our hearts and what drives us to grow our businesses each day.
My favorite thing in the world, when I have this thing with my team that we do, it's called pointing to the passer, and it's like a must do because I do it naturally always, and it's when you are, so I played soccer in college, when you score a goal and you point to the assist, you point to the passer, right? Like it is like, it's in my DNA. Because it took teamwork.
Yeah,
and that you only have the ball because they gave it to you, right? So point to the passer, and
that's right.
And
I like that,
it's like my favorite thing because it empowers the team to do, so like if they get a win, like on our team call, it'll be like, who is the passer? And then they rise to the occasion to be like, oh yeah, the blah, 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 like just thinking about who set you up. Because guess what, like it's so easy in real estate especially to get arrogant and to get like, to think that you're the, like my success is because 14,000 people gave me an opportunity. Like I am not where I am by myself, like at all. It's asinine to even think that.
Right. And for agents to recognize that too, and what, you know.
Yep.
My gosh, I love you guys.
This was so fun. I can talk to you guys